Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to have a look at texturing our Lego blocks. In the first video we just modelled it, quite a simple object to do, and then if we go EV editor just to confirm, drag it over from my other screen, if I select my whole object, see we've got our UVs in there. At the minute they're too big, the scaling's alright because they're all even, but it needs to be within this checkered box. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all of it. We're going to right click UV shell, select all of it, shift right click, so just right click, go to modify, and we're going to go to layout. And there we go, that has moved it all into our block. The reason being is once we export that to Substance Painter, it means that we'll be able to apply materials and paint and that sort of thing. But I'm just going to close that for 1 second. Rather than just having one, which is a bit boring to look at, we're just going to duplicate. So it should be, if I go object, I'm going to select all, go to mesh and combine. So now if I try and move it, press W, it's just one object. So all I'm going to do now is just Control D to duplicate, press W to move, and I'm just going to make a couple of them, just sort of arrange them in a little bit. And again, all I'm doing is I've got it selected, Control D to duplicate. I've already got my move tool, it's W, but it is up on the left hand side here. Just sort of moving around. Control D. Then if I want to rotate it, E to rotate. And then if I want to do it at an increment, if I hold down J, it'll snap like that. Let's just move it. Control D, W, and then let's E to rotate, and then let's turn this one upside down so we've got a little bit of variation. There we go. And let's just rotate it a little bit. Again, just so we've got a little bit of variation. Go to top view. Remember, all I'm doing when I get in this menu, I'm just holding down my spacebar. And if I hold down the middle there, that gives me my camera view, and that's how I'm jumping around. Basically, perspective, go back into normal, hold down space, click, and then I can go to left view, and so on like that. If I have to hit space once, I get all my different views. But that's how I'm sort of quick moving around. In fact, let's move that a little bit more. E to rotate. And like that. So now, obviously, we unwrapped one, but we haven't got the unwrapping of all of them. But actually, because we've duplicated it, what you'll find now is they've all unwrapped, but they're all on top of each other. So we need to make sure they're not overlapping. So what we're going to do is go and select all of them. So go Object, select them all. So all the UVs are there, they're just on top of each other, which we don't want. So I'm going to right click, go to UV shell, select all, right click, modify and layout. And there you see it's laid them all out inside our checker map, and they're all the same size and scale. So that then is ready to export. So I'm going to close that. I'm just going to give that a little save, go File and Save. Okay, and just before we export it, what we're going to do is add a texture ID just so we can make them all different colors. So I'm going to right click Object and click on this, go to Assign Favorite Material, and I'm just going to do Lambert and give this name, call that Brick 1. Same on this one, click it, right click, favorite material, Brett Lambert, and call that brick 2. Next one, again, rinse and repeat, brick 3, brick 4, and brick 5. Okay, so now go to File and Export All. And we go to Lego Brick Render. Okay, then go to Substance Painter. And go to New. Go to 2K. Select the file we want, which is this Lego Brick one here. Click OK. Get rid of my old file that I don't want. And it's brought in my materials. So at the minute, we've got our 3D view of how it's come in. We have also got up here, so if I go to this button here, go 3D, 2D, and what that'll do is that will bring in the UVs. So at the minute, because I've got brick 1 selected, it's just all UVs of brick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the whole reason why I did a material ID before and I just gave them all a Lambert is just so that they're all separate. So I can, when I make materials, it will apply to each one individually. It just makes it a little bit easier to do that. And then I named them. What I did do in the past is when I had the material, I didn't name them, and then literally it was a nightmare to try and figure out, particularly with more complex parts, what everything was. So just get in the habit of naming them because it makes your life a lot easier. Now for what we're doing, because it's nothing majorly complex, I don't need to have my 2D view up here, so I'm going to click here, go to 3D only. And the first thing you need to do once you're in, you need to do something called baking of mesh map. So I'm going to go to edit and bake mesh maps. I'm going to change the output to 2K again and select bake textures. Now what this is doing, if you can see, is basically figuring out the geometry of the object that you've got. So obviously we did the UV on wrapping, so that shows how the material wants to wrap around that, but it's basically figuring out where all the curves are, where materials touches. So when you add things like imperfections, it knows where to go. Certain things take longer to do than others, depending on how complex of an object it is to do. Okay, and you know it's done because it's slightly darker. So we have got our Lego bricks. So if you've never used Substance Painter before, again, disclaimer, I'm relatively new and still learning, so if I make mistakes, go easy on me. So we've got our normal materials down here. We have got, next one is smart materials. These are materials like imperfections and things like that. So we're just going to focus, there are other things down here as well. So you've got like masks, filters, brushes, alphas, and textures and these sorts of things. So we're, for now, just going to focus on materials. So we're going to look for plastic. I'm going to take plastic glassy. Now we've got brick 1, so I'm going to take it and just drag it over here. And automatically, it's coloured it blue for us. Now this is why, originally I did this video before and I forgot to add a material ID to it and basically made them all blue. So I went back and I sort of added those texture maps in. Now, we've got this layer one here, we don't want that, so right click and go to remove, and we've got this on here. So, what we can do, properties on this fill here. So I can scroll down, base colour, I can change that colour if I want to. Okay, so however, I'll keep it as that blue for now, for this particular one. Roughness, so that can make it more or less shiny, and mattiness, make it look more or less metally. There are other ones, so things like height will be, once you've got certain geometry, you make it look more 3D, which we don't really need. Same with normal, we don't really need. You can add other things on here, so if you go to texture settings, you can get things like, if I click on here, so you can do like emissive, so you can make things light up, you can make things like opaque, so like see-through, so there's loads of little things you can do, but there's a lot to learn, so it's best not to get yourself too bogged down in the details. So far we've just added one material to this brick. Now we want to make it look a little bit more realistic, so we're going to start adding some things onto it. So what happens is you start with like your base material, and then essentially what you do is you add layers on top of it to sort of add details onto it. So we're going to go to add fill layer, and it sort of got rid of the colour of it. So what we're going to do is go to this one, add mask, and we're going to add a black mask. So now it's back to blue again. But now, if I was to like colour onto it, it'll do something. I'm going to Control Z to undo that. Then what I want to do is come here and go to add generator. So I go to click generator here. If I click on dust, see what's happened now? It's added dirt onto it. And what I can do is I can edit that quite well. So dirt level, I can make that more or less dirty. I can change the contrast of it. I can make it more or less stand out. Grunge amounts, again, I can edit. So there's all sorts of little bits you can do. I can make the dust scale, the grunge scale even bigger. So let's have a little, we don't want to go too over the top with it. Just to sort of take this shine off it a little bit. Something like that. Okay, for now, really, that's all we can do. Now, I could continue to add more layers on, so I could add another fill layer. I could add another black mask. I could add another generator if we wanted to. And we could do like, so we go like metal edge wear. So I think we'll probably do that. Let's leave that as that is. So that's sort of like around the edges, makes it look more worn, so it looks like it's been used. So all we've done there really is we took our plastic, we've then added a fill layer and added some dirt, and then added a fill layer, added some metal edge wear. So what we've done now is essentially create our own smart material, which is what these smart materials are. So it's the same sort of thing, but built up. So if you look at these ones, you can see there are some plastics that have already got their own little imperfections on them. So you've got like plastic dusty, okay, and those sorts of things, plastic scratched. So we're going to basically do the same thing. Now, if we're going to be well organized, what we would do is select all of them, right click, and go to group layers. So then if we close it, we've got it all like that. So what we could do as well is we could right click it and go instantiate across texture, so we basically can copy that same material, but what we can't then do is edit it because we want them to be different colors for each brick. We're not going to do that. So we're going to go on to brick 2. Let's bring over plastic. Again, I'm going to remove this layer. Now, properties, bring this up. I'm going to change this color now, so let's go to like green. And then same thing, let's add a fill layer. Let's add a black mask. And then let's add a generator. And then first thing we did was dirt. Again, let's bring that dirt level down a bit. And then let's do it again because I liked how it looks. Let's go to add another fill layer. Bring this down a bit. Ooh. Add a black mask. And then add a generator. And this time we're going to go with metal edge. Yeah, so again, it's going on. Now you can, again, we're on this metal edge wear, so you could, for example, if you zoom in and you see what's going to happen, make that more or less. So in fact, in terms of trying to make it a bit different, let's do that. Let's do the same for others. So again, select all those, right click, and let's group them together. Brick 3. Again, let's remove this first layer, and then let's change this color. Let's make it like make it like that purple. I like that purple. All right, so let's add a fill layer. Let's, add a black mask, and then add a generator. We'll go with dirt. And basically, to make it all look a little bit more different, I'm sort of changing the dirt levels and contrasts as we're going through a little bit. Grunge amount, let's bring that down like that. And I'll do the same thing. Add fill layer, add black mask, then add a generator, And then let's add that metalware. And then we got last two to do, so let's select all those. And the reason I'm grouping these is just it's a good habit to do. If you've got loads and loads, if you look at some smart materials, they've got like loads and loads of different layers on that it gets a bit confusing, or a bit messy rather, not confusing. Okay, let's drag, right click and remove layer, and then let's change this color. All right, let's go with like a yellow. Okay, right, let's now add a fill layer, add a black mask, add a generator, and then let's go with dirt. And then once more, add a fill layer, add a black mask, and then let's add a generator, and then let's go with metal edgeware. Let's leave that one with done. And then we've got one more left to do, so let's select all those, right click, group, and then last one, right click and remove this extra layer we don't want. Let's change this color, so I've got a blue, let's go with like a red. And then we're going to add a fill layer. Let's go to add a black mask, add a generator, dirt, and then let's do one more. Add a black mask, add a generator, and we will go with metal edgeware. And let's bring that one up a bit more, like that. Okay. So just to show you what you could do, so we just did that with generators, so it sort of does it randomly. You can add your own one. So what we could do, for example, is add a fill layer, add a black mask, and then if we right click, what we could do is add, where is it? Add paint. So now what I could do is, you see, I could start paint on there, but if I Control Z to undo, if you go to brushes, so I'll write this up so you can see. From brushes at the minute, what you can do, so brushes is essentially called alpha, so it's like the stencil that the brush will be. If you click on them, you got this, but it's actually a bit hard to do. So actually, if you come over here, these are our alphas. These are what essentially our brushes will look like. So you've got loads of different kinds of brushes and sort of how they're going to look. So what you could do is take like dirt smudginess, and you got things like fingerprints. So what I could do is take like fingerprints, and I can either click on that or I can drag it over. So now if you look, I've got like fingerprints on there. Now I want to be a bit bigger, so if I hold down, which one is it? Trying to remember. Okay, I cannot remember how to make the brush bigger. There is a way to make the brush bigger. I just can't remember what it is, but I'll come back to you on that. Okay, but essentially, yeah, you can make that brush bigger. But I've got like fingerprints, so what I could do is sort of add in my own grunge bits if I want to as well. So I'll leave that as it is. Let's do that. So again, I'm just gonna right click, group layers, So we've now textured all of our bricks, so all that's left to do is to render it. So up here, I'm going to go to render. Okay, so while we're doing that, what I'm going to do is on settings, yeah, render settings, I'm going to scroll down. Oh. Oh. Sorry, I've dragged the menu and I've messed something up. There we go. Okay, so what I want here is to have clear ground, solid colour, like that. And then what you can do is, let's remove that, is on this bit here, so we have got environment rotation, so that should actually be here. That's sorry, I dragged this and it's being slow because it's trying to render at the same time. I'll just drag this back into position. Why are you not cooperating? There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, so I've made that clear now, but rotation here. So what I can do is I can change the lighting depending on where I want it to be. And we will leave that there. I'm going to hold down Alt and pan out like that. Now with my render settings there, so at the minute it's set to just render for 10 seconds, so it's done. So if I want it to look in better quality, so for example I put in 30 seconds, hit enter, it's going to start rendering again for 30 seconds. The longer you do it, the better quality render you can end up having. It depends on how powerful your laptop or your PC is as well, depends on your graphics card. But it'll count down, it'll tell you how long it's been rendering for. So 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, say done. And then what I've done, you've got the option to save that render. And we're finished. So that is a quick little introduction to, well, finishing off our Lego brick. We modelled it, we UV'd it, and then we've textured it in Substance Painter. Hopefully you found that interesting. Any questions, please email me at designwithsimon@outlook.com.